resources for studying currently an M3 and an MSCB. Awesome, Wade. Fantastic. Love it. Yeah, we're rebooting the MCAT podcast. I used to do it with another company. We're starting, or we have started MCAT stuff here at medical school headquarters. And so we are going to redo the MCAT podcast. Medical school is really hard. Medical school, it's a lot. Yeah. No one has ever said anything different, I don't think. I mean, I often will say it's not hard. It's just a lot, which is hard in of itself. Maybe semantics there. Is it okay to reuse the same undergrad committee letter as a reapplicant? Potentially. Is the committee redoing the letter? If the committee's not redoing the letter, then I wouldn't reuse the letter. You're going to want updated letters, updated information. If your committee's going to do something, you're going to want to, the committee to speak about being a reapplicant, what your strengths are, what you've overcome, etc. I attended 6 different conferences. How do I talk about all of them in the work and activity section? Attending conferences is kind of useless. So I would just have one activity and it's conferences, and then just list the conferences and maybe a small little takeaway if you have room for it. Is it okay for physicians to allow me to see the letter of rec before submitting? Technically, no. When you request the letter, you are and should request for it to be confidential, which means you don't know what's in it. Now, does that happen all the time? No, but that is the idea. By attending, I mean presenting. Awesome. Yeah, same answer, I would say. Just do presentations as one activity and then list them all. What else is going on, guys? MappdCon tomorrow. Go register MappdCon.com. It is tomorrow, 9 to 5 Eastern. Such a huge lineup of speakers and panelists and all kinds of amazing stuff. I have 2 panels that I'm moderating, as well as a little fireside chat with Dr. Ricky Brown, the real TikTok doc on TikTok. What's his Instagram handle? Ricky Brown, Dr. Richard J. Brown on Instagram. He's got 381,000 followers on Instagram. I think he's got like 9 million on TikTok. Awesome dude, plastic surgeon. Is it too late to start pre-med at 24? No, absolutely not. Go do what you want to do. Never too late to avoid regret. Can significant adversity be enough to explain multiple poor MCAT attempts? Matthew, at the end of the day, you're going to have to show that you're academically qualified and capable of passing medical school. And if you can't do that, then it will never be enough. And so you have to have a good MCAT score to give them confidence. A good enough MCAT score is what I try to always say. To give them confidence. If your MCAT scores are all around 490, that probably is not going to be good enough for a US-based medical school to give you a chance. Happy to dive in more there. Is MCAT or GPA more important for MD? GPA 392, MCAT only 510. Ivan, I don't know why you're saying your MCAT's only a 510. That's right around the average for MD schools. Those are both fantastic stats. I don't know where we got into this world where if you don't have a 515, then it's not good enough, or 518, it's not good enough. And I blame the MSAR partly on that, because if you go to the MSAR, it looks like everyone has a 518. So fantastic score. Hello to my friends on YouTube as well. Come ask your questions. Let's hang out. Let's chat. Reddit has been stressing me out. Stay off of Reddit. It's really that easy. I made a Chrome extension that if you go to Reddit or Student Doctor Network, it pops up a little thing that's like, are you sure you want to do that to yourself? I should put it out there. I'm pursuing an SMP at an MD school that mirrors an M1 curriculum. Will probably go for a 4th. Any thoughts on that? I know MCAT will probably have more value. Any thoughts on what? I wonder if I can use that as leverage. Use what as leverage? You're not giving me enough information, Matthew. What are you asking? Do you think a W in film class would put me at a disadvantage for any school? No, absolutely not. You may be asked about it. Just be prepared to answer. I had 2 W's on my application. One was some sort of music class, and another was, I forget what the other one was. Or something. I just forgot about a test, and I didn't show up to take a test. I was like, oops, I should probably drop that class. John Jones, currently a clinical research coordinator. How do I go about dividing research time versus clinical time on an application? You just guesstimate. How much time is spent in both. That is it. Easy enough. Matthew, explain some more. I want to be a psychiatrist that works in jails. Is a niche career like that a bad look? At the end of the day, what you want to do as a career shouldn't, in my opinion, in my team's opinion, be on your medical school application. So you're not talking about, I want to be a psychiatrist in a jail on your medical school application. You're talking about wanting to be a physician on your medical school application. And so when you are potentially asked about specific specialties in mind, any specific interests, then yeah, you can talk about an interest in psychiatry, an interest in incarcerated people. You can talk about those interests while also keeping an open mind that you're going to get a lot more exposure during medical school. And the data shows 75% of people change their mind. Would a strong SMP performance compensate multiple MCAT performances? It's the same question you asked earlier, Matthew. Without knowing what your MCAT score is, I can't answer that question. Again, if you have multiple MCAT scores and it's 485, 490, 493, 495, a strong SMP probably won't overcome that. You need a strong enough MCAT score to give medical schools reassurance that you're not going to fail step 1, fail step 2, fail step 3. It's 2 different data points. So if you have a 485, a 490, a 505, and a strong SMP performance, now you have an MCAT score that for some schools will be like, yeah, 505, good enough. Multiple attempts, that's all right. We'll overlook that. I've heard medical schools have interviews. Yeah, they do. I have a whole book on it, the Pre-Med Playbook Guide to the Medical School Interview. I don't think I have. Do I have one over there? I don't know if I can get to it. Hold on. I do have it. Oh, stupid green screen. Pre-Med Playbook Guide to the Medical School Interview. For our YouTube fans. This one's dusty. I'm in my garage. So yeah, they do. Why do you want to be a doctor? Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. Goodbye. Woo! How do I show that without personal experience with mental disorders? So that's why I want to do that. How do I show that without talking about a specific specialty? It's easy. You just talk about whatever you want to talk about without saying, and this makes me want to be a psychiatrist. You just talk about continuing to want to help people. 492, 498, 496, averaging 507, 509 for practice exams. Yeah, it's hard when you've taken the MCAT multiple times. I trust your practice exam scores less and less and less because you've often taken them several times. And so it's a much harder thing to be able to estimate what your score is going to be because you're often looking at material for the second or third time. So, yeah, I think you only take a fourth attempt if you, for some reason, know you're going to score much higher. If you can crack that 500. I know Emory has language for their admissions that says any students who have taken the MCAT more than 3 times is non-competitive. So it just depends on the school. I've seen students take the MCAT 7 times. They crush it their 7th time and get into medical school, MD schools. Just throwing that in, the MD part, because you guys always care about that. I know your content revolves around medical school. I'm an aspiring pre-dental student. I currently have a 2.55 GPA entering junior year. Will an upward trend suffice? Yeah, we find the same trends in dental school. We work with pre-dental students with their applications, even though we are medical school headquarters pointing. TikTok is like, what are you pointing at? I have a different background on YouTube. Even though we're medical school headquarters, we do work with pre-dental students. But yeah, you are going to need an upward trend. It's the same answer for medical school. You're going to have to prove to dental schools that you're not an academic risk. That's it. Non-trad applicant. I have a research supervisor who just wrote me a letter due to a committee. Will a shorter one or a weaker letter? Will a shorter or weaker letter destroy my chances? I had health problems and was busy with my classes, so my research wasn't very successful. Jimmy, I'm not sure what you're asking. Will a shorter or weaker letter? At the end of the day, you want your letter to be impactful. You want it to be personal. You want it to be individualized to who you are and your strengths and your weaknesses. Short or long, shorter or weaker. I don't understand the question. So this is a morning where I'm not understanding questions. I'm sorry. I know you do application renovation, but do you do any personal application creations? I mean, we don't have any. Well, we do have our PS or BS series, which we started, and we The problem is I always start things right at the beginning of our busy season. And so we get super busy with just working with students, and then we have to stop. And so the plan is each of our advisors is going to do a handful of PS or BS and a handful of the mock interview show. And so those are two pieces of content that we create for YouTube and social media and stuff that are free that students can apply for. And we're reviewing personal statements, doing short mock interview sessions, etc. Oh, thank you. What is the most application cycles you have seen someone undergo? Good question, Marvin. I want to say 5, but I don't know. 3 for sure. 3 is a very common number, unfortunately. I want to start I've wanted to do this for a while, like a 3 application club, where if you've applied to medical school 3 or more times and you haven't gotten in, like just start a community of just those students, and like, let's figure out how to make things work the next time, or give you the cold hard truth of okay, like just stop. Which, if you know me, I don't like to tell people they can't do this, but if you've applied to medical school 3 times and you still haven't gotten in, there's a reason. And so what is that reason? Do I still do the Ask Dr. Gray podcast? I don't. I have found that, we got in 300 plus episodes of that most of the questions just started recycling. And so I didn't want to just keep answering the same question over and over again. I'd rather come on and do lives and spend my time doing that. Do you still have the interview recording software? I couldn't find it. No, we stopped that. That platform changed. The original platform that I was using, they sold to another company, and we stopped doing that. Do you think a week-long medical service trip to an underserved country will look like fluff on an application? I'm going regardless, but I'm just curious. I don't think anything potentially looks like fluff. A lot of people do week-long service trips. At the end of the day, it's what you write about, how you write about it, the impact that you made. I think the important thing is on these trips that you're not writing about and doing something there that you wouldn't be allowed to do here. So you just got to be careful. That's a big thing. Matthew, I still listen to ones from 2017 up to now. Yeah, I mean, the old ones are still mostly completely relevant. What form of magnesium is the best? I don't know, dude. I'm a podcaster, YouTuber dude now. I don't know this stuff anymore. I take magnesium glycinate and magnesium. What's the other form? I take 2 magnesium supplements at bedtime. Help me sleep. How common is it 3.92 GPA for applicants? Will my GPA actually impress medical schools? So RunGal19, at the end of the day, your GPA is not there to impress anyone. And so I want you to try to change. No, mag citrate is the one that makes you poop. Definitely not taking mag citrate before bed. Mag citrate is the constipation one. You take heavy doses of that for your colonoscopies. You don't want to think about anything as impressing medical schools. They've seen it all. Students have done it all. I don't like when students will say, well, what will stand out? Or all of the companies that are like, we're going to help you stand out on your medical school application. Nothing stands out. It's all been done. And that's not to make you go, oh man, like I'm never going to get into med school now. No, at the end of the day, the goal is to be authentic. The goal is to show who you are, the impact that you make on the things that you do. Right? So it's not the thing that stands out. It's who you are in that thing that has the impact. And so a 392, dime a dozen, right? Good GPAs are everywhere. So that's not is what's going to stand out. What the 392 does is keeps the door open so that medical schools know you're academically qualified. Let's go to the rest. Then they can look at everything else. They're not going to look at a 392 and go, oh my gosh, this person is amazing. They have a 392. No, 392 done, right? You have crossed the threshold for our concern of you going to medical, being a strong medical student, of passing medical school. Don't worry about your stats or your activities as a way to stand out. Trackstar, currently admitted to a DPT program, but been having doubts due to low salaries and very high cost of living area. Considering med school, how would you decide between passion for med school given the long timeline? Ooh. So, Trackstar, here's the fun thing. So I'll talk about Boston because that's what I know. And you can let me know, like, potentially where you're interested in living. Typically, very high cost of living areas are very high cost of living because they are highly sought after areas for people to live, which means the salaries for those areas don't have to be high because people want to live in that area already, right? It's just, at the end of the day, pretty basic economic supply and demand. There's a ton of demand for people to be in that area. Therefore, the salaries don't have to be high to draw people to that area. I know Boston well, lived in that area, right? You have Mass General, Brigham and Women's. What are some of the other hospitals there? What's the other one? Brigham, Beth Israel. You have all of those amazing medical centers right there. You have Tufts there. Very high cost of living. People love Boston. They want to live in Boston. I hate Boston. I know physicians in some of those big hospitals that are making less than $100,000 a year because they can, because people want to be associated with these huge academic medical centers, and therefore they don't have to pay as much, right? And then these are early out of school people and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. So at the end of the day, for me, if you're choosing between being a physical therapist and being a physician, you have to ignore where you're going to live. You have to ignore salaries, and you have to think about, what do you want to be doing? They're two very different careers. If you want to be a physical therapist, be a physical therapist and go live your life and figure out how to make it work with the salary that you'll have in the area that you want to be in. Or maybe you change where you want to live. Right? This country's huge. There are lots of amazing places. I think I've lived all over. I've lived in Southern California. I'm in Colorado currently. I've lived in Florida. I've lived in Delaware. I lived in the Boston area. I lived in New York. Every place is phenomenal for its own reasons. And so I think you just have to figure it out. I know from the news that there is a physician shortage. I would love to talk about the physician shortage. But what's the number of medical school applicants like? As far as I know, it hasn't changed much. If that's the case, does it mean there are more people dropping out midway? What do you think? No, med school attrition is really low. Medical school application numbers have been steady, if not going up. So that's not an issue. There are concerns about if you Google like enrollment cliff, because we are having a decline in the number of babies that are being born. The number of students going through education is going to start to decline, which will mean less physicians going to medical school, et cetera, over time. The two major organizations that talk about a physician shortage are the two organizations that have the most to gain from more physicians going through the process. The AMA and the AAMC. Anywhere where you see physician shortages, it's going to typically have their name associated with it. And so just from a bias standpoint, I try to continue to look for data that's not from the AAMC and the AMA. I can't find any. Subjectively, if I try to call and make an appointment with someone, a specialist typically, it can take a long time, right? So we do have issues of physicians. I think we don't only have a physician shortage potentially, we have a specialty distribution issue. Because medical school is so expensive, we have physicians who come out and want to try to make as much money as possible to pay off their loans and have this life that they've worked so hard to achieve. And without any sort of incentives for people to go into primary care, it makes it an issue as well. I met an AdCom at a medical school I applied to, and we chatted lots. I said they checked to see where my app is at and offered one-on-one meetings with me as well. How helpful can that be for applicants? Hugely. I'm a huge fan of networking as much as possible. Great job. They sacrificed their 20s, so it makes absolute sense. I want to change this language about sacrificing your 20s. You're not sacrificing anything. You're investing in your future. You are choosing to do something that most people would never in a million years choose to do, because for some crazy reason, you are called to this crazy career of being a physician and taking care of people and healing them and taking care of them and all this stuff. It's not a sacrifice. It's a choice and an investment. I hate this sacrifice your 20s language. I went to medical school. I started medical school when I was 25. I lived my best years in medical school. Did 1 year of internship before going active duty in the military. Some of my best friends are from medical school. Not a sacrifice at all. Got to change our language around things. Less victimization of this process. Take charge. For virtual interviews, should we try to keep our eyes in one place, or does that look bad? I kind of buck the trend a little bit with virtual interviews, right? The idea of a conversation is eye-to-eye contact, right? So I'm looking on YouTube right now. I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking right at you. The problem with me looking at you, if there was someone else on the screen, is I can't see the person on the screen. I can't see their facial expressions. I can't see the micro movements of their muscles, right? That's the whole point of eye contact, is for me to get cues on how what I'm saying is landing. And so I believe that eye contact, even in a virtual world, is look at the person's eyes. And that person's eyes, right? If I look on TikTok, I'm looking at the camera. I can't see myself anymore. I can obviously see a less clear version of me through my peripheral vision. But if I now look at myself, I can see myself talking. I can see my expressions and all this stuff. To me, that is what you should do in a virtual setting. And there are ways, like I can make my screen smaller here and move it up higher towards the camera so that my eyes are a little bit closer to the camera. I can also check in every once in a while and go, hey, I see you up there, and look at the camera and then come back down, right? So I don't think you should overthink it. I'm having a difficult time trying to choose between flight school and medical school. Any advice? Why not both? I know several pilot physicians. Why not both? I have my private pilot license. I went to medical school, obviously, and then I went and got my private pilot license. At the end of the day, the question is, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a pilot, like a commercial pilot? That's a career, or do you want to have a hobby where you fly? I think it's a very different conversation. Should I mention my sibling that goes to a medical school that I have an interview with? I think if it comes up, great. Right? If they ask, why do you want to come to this school? I'd be like, well, my sister's here and she loves it and she says X, Y, or Z. I heard pilot, I joined. Do you need my 2 cents? What's your 2 cents? Chase the aviator. The question was, if you missed the question, difficult time trying to decide between flight school and medical school. I mean, again, for me, again, it's choice on career. What do you actually want to be? I need to fly some more. I haven't flown in a while. Any tips for patient scenarios during MMIs? Ask more questions than you think you should. So patient scenario could have some hidden stuff behind the scenes that you might not know about. And so the more you ask the questions without going in and assuming you know what you're supposed to be doing, the better you'll be. Listen as much as possible to what they're saying. They are trained actors that are going to drop hints if that's what they're supposed to be doing, and you're supposed to be listening. When I do MMI prep with students, oftentimes they're not listening. They're thinking about what they want to say next. Like, okay, I'm trying to convince them that they should stop smoking and it's not working. So how am I going to convince them something more, whatever? And you missed a clue when they were talking. Did I leave clinical medicine? I did. So I was in the military. I was an Air Force flight surgeon for 5 years, diagnosed with what they thought at the time was MS. And so the military grounded me. They wouldn't let me fly anymore. That's when I stopped flying as a hobby too. And then I had started medical school headquarters several years before that. And the conversation with my wife, who's a neurologist, was, do I go back and do residency? Because I only did my internship training. And the conversation was, well, if this is MS, residency may make this a lot worse. And so we decided to go full-time entrepreneur and do what I was doing. I started, again, medical school headquarters several years before. It was already starting to kind of grow and students watching and listening and all that stuff. So yeah. Have I thought about ultralights? I'm looking into some now. I haven't. I just, for the most part, I would love to, and probably I can definitely keep flying. I would love to get like an SR-22. My dream would be a Pilatus, a PC-12. It's one of my favorite planes for some silly reason. At the end of the day, it's so much time and money to invest in that kind of stuff. Ultralights are great. Where I live, probably less convenient. I think ultralights are great for a little more of a rural environment where you can just fly around and land kind of anywhere and have some fun. Yeah. And ultralights, I don't know how ultralights work, and it's super high winds. Like, it's so windy where I live in Colorado with all the wind whipping off the mountains. I never met my physician PI directly, just the med students. Shady for interviews. What would be shady for interviews? What would be shady there? Advice for medical school with a significant other. In terms of what? In terms of applying or just getting through medical school with a significant other? Is that significant other in medical school with you? What's the question? I saw a research position, but it doesn't seem that it would do any research, just helping the lab. Yeah, I wouldn't get involved there. No LOR from my PI and wouldn't be able to advocate for me. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. With current financial environment, is it worth pursuing MD PhD? Logan, are you asking, should you do an MD PhD because of the fact that it's for the MSTP spots typically are paid and you get a stipend for the cost of attendance? Is that what you're asking? Or are you asking with the funding cuts, is MD PhD safe? What's the question? Can I ask you an AME question? You can try. I might not know it. I have a good buddy who is a former Air Force flight doc with me. He's still in the Guard, who is opening up AME clinics all over. So I want to do MSTP at Northwestern, which has lost $700 million in funding. Yeah. So is your question is more around the security of those positions. I think the MSTP programs are probably the safest, and it's going to be the standard, potentially, PhD programs and research that get the biggest cuts. But we'll see, right? We saw NYU stop accepting students for their program in the middle of the application cycle. They're trying to undergo a big change in MD PhD training. So yeah, come tomorrow to MappdCon, perfect transition. The dean of admissions for NYU, when that news broke that they were shutting off their MD PhD applications, I texted him. I was like, dude, what are you doing? So yeah, fun stuff. When you're completing a post-bac to complete prereqs and increase GPA, prove you're academically capable, is taking 2 science with labs per semester enough credits, or I need more? Keith, there's a lot more information I need there. 2 science with lab per semester. How many semesters? Right? Is it 10 semesters? Therefore, it's 20 classes, 3 credits each or 4 credits each. Right? Is it 60 credits total? Is it 10 credits total? Really just depends on what you need there. All right, friends, I have to run to a meeting. This was great. I try to live stream every Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern before I jump into meetings. Well, I try to stream as much as possible. So make sure you follow. Tomorrow we'll be on all day long, 9 to 5 Eastern, MappdCon.com. Go register for free over at MappdCon.com. Lots of great panels and discussions, presentations, and then finishing the day with Dr. Ricky Brown. I'll be doing a conversation with him about the future of healthcare. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.